First of all, I welcome all of you to 19th AFOM monthly webinar. Today we have Professor S.D. Sharma as a speaker, and today's topic is very basic in nature, but kind of a basic block for medical physics practices in clinic. It is very important for the students, and of course, it's required for building a block of medical physics concept. You require this topic as a must. And Professor S.D. Sharma, sir, is a teacher to many generation of medical physics students in India. He is considered to be a pioneer in India, whether in terms of research or whether in terms of education or academics. And I think he will be a great help to our medical physics students, basically. And I hope you will enjoy the session. As a moderator, we have Miss Lam Negyu. She's from Vietnam. She is a very active member of Vietnam Society of Medical Physics. And right now she is working as a medical physicist in Ho Chi Minh City Oncology Hospital in Vietnam. Am I correct, Ms.
Yes.
Lam? Yes. Yeah. So now, without wasting a single minute, I will hand over the floor to Ms. Lam for further procedures. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Verma. So welcome everyone to the 19th webinar. The topic today would be on monitor unit calculation for photon and electron beams. So before we start, I'd like to remind you all to turn off your microphone and video so that we would have a good bandwidth for today's session. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat box. There will be a Q&A session after the talk. So as we are all aware, a dosimetry system needs to be capable of delivering dose accurately. An accurate determination of the dose per monitor unit at a single calculation point is an essential part of this process. And the calculation of MUs has evolved over the past several years as treatment planning has increased in accuracy as well as complexity. So today we have Dr. Sharma. He's here to deliver more information on this topic. So I'd like to give you like a more extensive introduction about Dr. Sharma. Dr. Sharma is currently the head of Medical Physics Section, Radiological Physics and Advisory Division of the Bhabha Atomic Research Center in India. He is also the president of AMPI. Dr. Sharma studied physics in his bachelor honor degree. He then went on and obtained his Master of Science in Physics, graduating as a gold medalist. Dr. Sharma pursued higher education with his postgrad diploma in radiological physics and a PhD in physics. Dr. Sharma's research focuses on development of radiotherapy equipment, dosimetry instruments, phantoms, and dosimetry methods, radiation dosimetry, QA and dosimetry in radiotherapy and diagnostic radiology, as well as radiation safety. And throughout his career, Dr. Sharma has over 120 journal publications, 180 abstracts, and 25 other papers. He also completed a number of projects in medical physics with the BARC, IAEA, BRNS, and AERB. Dr. Sharma served as course director of the medical physics courses hosted by ICTP and IAEA. In the past, he also served as secretary treasurer of the AMPI and CMPI, chief examiner, EC member, and convener. And currently, Dr. Sharma is the associate editor and reviewer of various international journals. He is member of various AERB committees and also the PhD guide and examiner for various universities, as well as Diploma of Radiology Physics, coordinator, faculty, and examiner. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Sharma. And so Doctor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lam. And it was a nice introduction. And in fact, today I am out of my place. So somehow I managed to deliver this lecture as I have committed earlier. So I thank all the participants, organizer, moderator, and AFOM as well for giving me this opportunity for interacting with the colleagues of AFOM region. So I will share my slide and go ahead with the presentation. So are you able to see my slide? Okay,
Yes,
thank you. Thank you. So now As Dr. Lam has told, today's topic of discussion is monitor unit calculation for photon and electron beams. In fact, you can say it is a basic as well as advanced topic, because we need to do monitor unit calculation for various reasons. For example, monitor units are used to deliver the prescribed dose to patient whenever we want to treat a patient by a medical accelerator, whether this accelerator is a standard accelerator or a specialized accelerator. In fact, if somebody wants to ask what is monitor unit, so our answer usually is it is an arbitrary number which doesn't have otherwise any significance, but it becomes a physical quantity when it is correlated with the absorbed dose to water. So, and usually it is done while measuring the beam output of the accelerators. Monitor units needs to be calculated for a given clinical situation. It could be a simple case for treatment, whether palliative or curative, or it could be a complex case of, but this talk will be restricted to non-IMRT type of treatments only. Monitor unit calculation is also required as one of the quality control tool for treatment plans. Say, for example, somebody has done a plan and wanted to verify whether the treatment planning system has given the required number of monitor units so that the required dose to be delivered to the patient. This could be done by calculating monitor unit for some of the situations. So, however, it is not applicable for all the cases because usually this work is done manually. Now, just see, I will give you some information. Then we will proceed to the basic topic. Now, what is the basic difference between SSD setup of treatment and SAD or SID setup? SAD, that is source to axis distance or source to isocenter distance, or more popularly it is called isocentric treatment setup. In case of SSD, now you can see source to the point of interest is at a distance of normal treating distance of the machine, that is isocentric distance of the machine, and depth of the tumor center inside the patient body. So the point of interest for us is located at a distance of NTD plus depth of the tumor, that is NTD plus D. But in case of isocentric treatment, the point of interest is isocenter. The patient is positioned in such a fashion that tumor is centered at the isocenter along central axis of the beam. So this is the basic difference as far as the distance of the point of interest from the source is concerned. Now, for further information, SSD treatment requires setting up the patient if we have more than one treatment field. But in case of isocentric setups, once you position the isocenter at the tumor center, there is no requirement of visiting the patient all the time. Gantry can simply be rotated and deliver dose from different angular positions of the gantry by different plant beam can be delivered. So this means what I mean to say, isocentric setups are usually very convenient to be implemented. It is a time sparing kind of approach, and also gives some convenience to the technologist and sparing machine time, enhancing the throughputs. Now, as far as the dose calculation formalisms are concerned, if you see the whole gamut of literature, there are two approaches. One is called depth of dose maximum based approach, and the other approach is a depth of 10 centimeter based approach, or you can say reference depth based approach. Depth of dose maximum approach is historical in nature. Whenever we have started using the mega voltage beam, you know, they have the characteristic of dose buildup, and ultimately we have a depth of dose maximum point. All our parameters which needs to be used for dosimetry calculations are defined with respect to the point or dose at the depth of dose maximum. But later on, it was found by various researchers that this is the point where secondary electrons or contaminated radiation, that is low energy photons, generated in the head of the accelerators are also able to reach, but these radiations, which is called contaminated radiation, are not able to reach to the point of the tumor center. So this means this is a drawback. If we calculate or measure the dose at the Dmax and we convert it to the dose to the point of the tumor center, which is far away from the depth of dose maximum, probably we are incorporating certain percentage of error deliberately. So to eliminate the issue of contaminated radiation, the depth of 10 centimeter best formalism were brought forth and the parameters has been defined accordingly. So for example, when we were using depth of dose maximum best formalism, percentage depth dose defined or normalized with respect to the depth of dose maximum is a very popular relative dose parameter to be used. Tissue maximum ratio is another parameter. Similarly, in case of depth of 10 centimeter best formalism, the parameter which is equivalent to percentage depth dose is sometimes called normalized percentage depth dose, or more generally it is called relative depth dose, then tissue phantom ratio. So I hope all of us are aware about the definitions of these parameters. Some of the parameters, whatever will be used further, I will be giving some overview. Now, what we require for calculating the monitor unit? This is the basic question I am pondering to you. So answer is, in general, we require a large number of parameters because we need to use the equipment, that is accelerator, for treating variety of the cancer cases. For example, first and foremost requirement that we should be knowing the prescription, and if by the way whether any recommendation on the treatment plan or plan has to be generated by the medical physicist only. For example, the treatment regimen is also given. Here you can see I have just taken a arbitrary example. Maybe it is the prescription that delivers 70 gray to the patient by 35 fractions and using 6 MB photon beams and can use arrangement of parallel opposed beams. So this is just a very simple example. Then we need to know beam energy and a reference dose rate or reference output of the machine for a given beam energy. This usually I denote by the abbreviation RO, that is reference output. This reference output is usually measured by following certain protocols. So as far as this region is concerned, this IAA TRS 398 is a very popular protocol which is used by many institutions. However, TG51 of AAPM is also equally used by the hospital physicists as per their desire. But ultimately, the value reference output is the same, it is not different. Percentage depth dose, I will give you some overview. Tissue maximum ratio, collimator scatter factor or collimator scatter correction factor. Both these are the synonymous names of the collimator generated radiation. I will give you some overview about this quantity as well. Phantom scatter factor, this is the parameter which is required for accounting for the phantom generated radiation. Total scatter factor, which is the combination of the radiation generated by the collimator system as well as the phantom. Then if by the way we have to use a block for shielding a given region or a given critical organ, then definitely we need to know the tray factor and we need to apply in the calculation. If by the way patient requires the treatment using Bayes filter, we should be using a measured Bayes factor. In case of electrons, in addition to all these, cones are used for defining the treatment field. So in case of electrons, we require cone factor as well. In addition, I will show you sometimes we also require conversion factor for certain corrections. Say for example, if I have done our reference output measurement in SSD setup, but I am going to treat the patient by isocentric setup and I do not want to repeat the output measurement in SID or isocentric setup. So there is approach of converting the output reference output measured in SSD setup to SAD setup. So this conversion factor is one of the example. In some of these situations, if by the way we are interested of knowing the number of monitor units or dose rate to a point which is away from the central beam axis, then we need to take help of the off-axis ratio. Off-axis ratios are defined away from the central axis, and I hope I will not be discussing much about this parameter because I will keep confined our discussion along the central axis. Now, just overview of the reference output. So now you can see this is a SSD type of setup for output measurement as per the IAEA TRS 398 protocol. Here, this is a water tank which is filled with water. This is a cylindrical ionization chamber of typical volume 0.6 cc. Then we have electrometer. Then as per the IAEA recommendation, the chamber has been positioned. The central electrode of the chamber has been aligned along the plane of 10 centimeter depth in water. SSD of the machine is 100 centimeter, and then the chamber is irradiated by 200 or 300 monitor unit, and then we get this electrometer reading. When electrometer reading is corrected by influence quantities like temperature, pressure, this recombination, all other parameters which I may not be discussing here. And when we use calibration coefficient of the ionization chamber, which is used here for measurement, which is calibrated against the cobalt 60 beam, for example, and our measurement is done in a 6 MV X-ray, for example. Then we also require the beam quality correction factor. So ultimately we get absorbed dose to water at the depth of 10 centimeter along the central axis. But in case of the DM based formalism, because all relative dosimetry parameters are defined with respect to the depth of dose maximum, so we are converting this measured dose at the depth of 10 centimeter to measure dose at the depth of dose maximum. So this way we are partially eliminating the contribution of contaminated radiation as well. For doing this, we require a percentage depth dose value for the beam quality for which we have done the measurement, depth of 10 centimeter, field size of 10 by 10 centimeter, and SSD 100 centimeter. And ideally, this value is called reference output for SSD setup. This reference output is available in terms of gray per monitor unit, or more popularly in centigrade per monitor unit. Now, second thing, this is then we require relative dosimetry parameters. So I will give you some information what these parameters. Now, the percentage depth dose. So you know that percentage depth dose is a ratio of dose at the depth of 10 centimeter and dose at the depth of dose maximum, as has been indicated in this figure. So since we say percentage, it has to be expressed in terms of percentage. Usually we multiply by 100 and express this value. One thing I wanted to point out here, if we are using percentage depth dose, the field size projected at the surface is the reference field size, or the surface plane is the reference plane for dosimetry calculation or determination of the field size and determination of other parameters required. Now, in case of tissue maximum ratio, now we define that earlier in case of percentage depth dose, you might have seen that it is a function of 4 different parameters: beam energy, reference field size projected at the surface, depth of interest, and SSD, which is usually normal treating distance or isocentric distance of the machine. But so this parameter is generally used for monitor unit calculation or tumor dose rate calculation in SSD setup. If we have to deal with the situation of isocentric setup, then we take help of another parameter which is called tissue maximum ratio. Basically, it is a special case of a very generic parameter which is called tissue phantom ratio. This parameter does not depend on SSD, and it is the ratio of dose at the point of our interest and dose at the depth of dose maximum. Now the basic question is, if this is also having the same ratio whatever we use in case of percentage depth dose, how these two parameters are different. So now here you can see this is the condition. While defining TMR, we have to keep source to measuring point distance constant, which was not the case in case of percentage depth dose. So say for example, this is the depth of dose maximum. So now we will, if I measure the dose at this point, I will get dose at the depth of dose maximum. Now I have to get the dose at the depth of our interest D. So fill this phantom with additional tissue equivalent material, that is water, because this measurement is done in water. So now now you can see that the distance between the point of interest or measurement point has not been disturbed, rather the overlying tissue depth has only been changed. So if we are keeping this condition, then we are measuring the dosage for defining the value of tissue maximum ratio. Now some overview about scatter factors. We have two different scatter factor. One is called collimator scatter factor or collimator scatter correction factor, which is a function of collimator field size and the beam energy which is used. And probably you may be aware the collimator scatter factors gives the information related to the fluence of the photon beams coming out of the collimator system or coming out of the accelerator. It is defined as the in air quantity, and it is the dose in air for a given field size R and dose in air for the reference field of 10 by 10 centimeter. Collimator scatter factor can be measured by very simple approach by using build-up cap of the required thickness, because when we have to deal with high energy X-rays, probably build-up cap of appropriate thickness is required. But there was a lot of discussion and arguments in the literature, and finally a method or approach based on based on the use of mini phantom has been proposed. So mini phantom of diameter made from plastic, either polystyrene or PMMA, of diameter 4 centimeter and length maybe 10 to 15 centimeter is thought to be appropriate. And depending on the field size of our interest, we can use the same ionization chamber whatever we use for output measurement of high energy X-ray. The orientation of the ion chamber can be perpendicular to the central beam axis, or it could be parallel to central beam axis depending on the field size of measurement. But make sure that while measuring this parameter, the phantom dimension shall be the such that the field should be covering whole phantom. Hello. Whole phantom for irradiation. Yeah, please.
Everything is fine, sir. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So next parameter is the, so what I mean to say, phantom scatter factor can be measured by using a mini phantom. Some of the measured value, for example, you can see here in this plot, it has been measured for the depth of dose maximum 1.5 centimeter and 10 centimeter. And as I said, the contaminated radiation contributes at the depth of dose maximum, because the range of secondary electrons generated in the head of accelerators are sufficient to reach up to this point. So this difference is visible when the measurements are done at 10 centimeter and depth of dose maximum. And these values can be measured at each of the institution by the hospital physicist for their own equipment. Phantom scatter factor, basically it is the parameter which gives you information about the phantom generated radiation, contribution of phantom generated radiation at the point of our interest. Here it is defined as the amount of scatter at the point of interest, keeping the collimator opening constant. to achieve this condition, we need to go for making another collimator system which could be mounted over the phantom. So what I feel, this way the measurement of phantom scatter factor is a tedious approach. So what generally we do, we define another parameter which is called total scatter factor, SCP, and we indirectly derive the value of phantom scatter factor, because measurement of collimator scatter factor is very easy in nature. Measurement of total scatter factor using a full scatter water phantom is also equally easy. So if we take ratio of these two parameters, it is possible to generate the value of phantom scatter factor. And this is the approach followed more generally by all the people. So some of the values which has been measured for different situations you can see here. So it is measured at 1.5 centimeter depth, that is DM, and depth of dose maximum. So obviously there are some difference due to contribution of contaminated radiation. So this is just an overview, because these parameters will be required while doing monitor unit calculation. Now we'll start with a simple approach for monitor unit calculation. So for calculating monitor unit for patient treatment, it is required that tumor dose rate with the consideration of the radiation geometry should be calculated. And this we can show using the following example. For example, you can see here. Now we are interested of calculating monitor unit for the SSD setup of treatment for a open beam along the central axis, and assume that the point of interest is located at central axis. So what generally we do, now we know the tumor, we know the reference output corresponding to SSD setup. Then this reference output is known to us for field size of 10 by 10 centimeter only. But if the field size used for the patient treatment is different from the reference field of 10 by 10, then we have to take help of the correction, a scatter related correction factor for converting this reference output to the output of the clinical field size. For this reason, we need to use the collimator scatter factor and the phantom scatter factor. Secondly, this reference output is known to us at the depth of dose maximum. So if I want to calculate the monitor unit or treatment tumor dose rate at the depth of tumor center, then I have to convert this dose for the clinical field from depth of dose maximum to the depth of the tumor center. So here D is the depth of the tumor center, R0 is the field size projected at the surface of the patient, and Q is the beam energy. You say, for example, if we are using 6 MV X-ray, then probably this 6 MV is the nominal beam energy Q here. And SSD of the treatment, which is ideally the normal treatment distance of 100 centimeter we use. So this is the, so first we need to calculate tumor dose rate. Once you are through with the calculation of tumor dose rate, then calculation of monitor unit is very easy. So now for this case, monitor unit corresponding to SSD setup will be equal to tumor dose per fraction prescribed by radiation oncologist, and tumor dose rate we have calculated using this expression. So if you put these two parameters here, you will get the number of monitor units required for treating the patient. So now you can just take a simple example. This example is a cancer patient needs to be delivered a palliative dose of 10 gray in 2 fractions by 6 MV X-rays using a single beam of size 15 centimeter by 15 centimeter in SSD setup. The tumor depth is 10 centimeter and reference beam output at normal treating distance plus depth of dose maximum is 1.01 centigrade per monitor unit. So here we require that calculate the monitor unit for irradiation of the patient. This is a simple numerical problem which we come across many times in our day-to-day activities. So now what is given here? Reference output corresponding to SSD setup is 1.01 centigrade per monitor unit. Collimator scatter factor we require here for field size 15 by 15. Beam energy is 6 MV. So I have just taken a very arbitrary value. Please do not use this value for making actual calculation for patient treatment. These numbers are just for illustration. Phantom scatter factor, because this is a SSD setup, field size projected at the surface, which is equal to the field size opened by the collimator system is 15 by 15 centimeter. So and beam energy is 6 MV. So this value I have taken once again a arbitrary value of 1.03, and percentage depth dose for this case is about 70%. Once again, this is arbitrary number. Dose per fraction, from here you can see 10 gray palliative dose in 2 fractions. So dose per fraction is 500 centigrade, and assume here that we are going to use only one field, single field, which is given in the question itself. So monitor unit required for this patient for fraction number 1 is 500 centigrade by this expression. So ultimately we calculate monitor unit of 673.15 monitor unit. Now the question is whether we should be using fractional value. In today's time, accelerators are able to deliver fractional value of monitor units also, but in older days, when this option was not available, we used to round up this number. So whenever it is larger, we do not want to underdose the tumor. For that reason, usually if it has to be rounded off, it will become 674 monitor unit. Now, the similar case for SAD setup. So it is a very simple approach of calculating the tumor dose rate. And once you are through with tumor dose rate, monitor units can easily be derived. So here, once again, the tumor dose rate for a SAD setup for the can be given in general form as this. Now, one thing I have kept constant here, reference output available to us is available for SSD setup only. So now, as I have discussed to you, in case of SSD setup, if output is available, only change is distance from the point of interest from the source. So now we have, there is no harm in using inverse square law based correction factor. So if I apply correction factor related to inverse square law, this will convert the reference output corresponding to isocentric setup. Now this is once again known for a field reference field of 10 by 10. So I have to convert it to the clinical field size of 15 by 15 or 18 by 18, something like that. Then we need to use the scatter factors, both collimator scatter factor and phantom scatter factor. And finally, because this is a SAD setup, we have to use the tissue maximum ratio for this situation. Here, please note that in case of tissue maximum ratio, field size projected at the isocentric plane, which is called reference plane for this treatment setups, is used here because this is the point of interest in this situation. So, and ultimately it will come and because unit of this reference output is centigrade per monitor unit, and other parameters are just relative factors. So it will come as centigrade per monitor unit, and once again same expression, tumor dose per fraction and tumor dose rate, then you will get monitor unit corresponding to SAD setup. Now just elaborate this case by having same example, making a small change that now this patient needs to be treated by SAD setup in place of SSD setup. So here we know the reference output for SSD setup, a scatter factors known to us, TMR value, this is just an arbitrary number I have taken, dose per fraction is also known, and inverse square factor I need to know. So you know that in case of reference output SSD setup, output is known at NTD plus TM. So, but in case of isocentric setup, I require output exactly at 100 centimeter, that is isocentric distance of the machine. So accordingly, the inverse square factor which needs to correct ROSSD to ROSAD is 1.03. When we put all these numbers in this expression, finally we get the value of 626.57 monitor units. Once again, if rounding is required, it will become 627. Otherwise, if the accelerator is having capability of delivering monitor units in fraction, this can as such be used for treatment of the patient. So this is just a simple approach I wanted to show you. Now the next question is, all the fields are not a square fields. We may be dealing with rectangular fields, we may be dealing with irregular fields. So whether we have approach or option for applying this approach of monitoring calculation for such situation, the answer is yes. We can use the concept of equivalent field or equivalent square field, and probably you may be aware that the square field that has the same depth, those characteristic as the rectangular or irregular field is called equivalent square of the given field size. A Stirling approximation is very useful, very simple to be used, but this has this approximation has limitation. If the elongation ratio, usually we say length by width ratio, is more than 2 to 3, then probably this approximation does not give you the required value of the equivalent square. So we have to switch over to many other recommended approaches, but in day-to-day practice, we are using the Stirling approximation only. So this says that equivalent square for a given rectangular field or even irregular field will be equal to 4 into area by perimeter. So area is, if field size is X and Y by collimator system, the area is X into Y, and perimeter is nothing but 2 into X plus Y. So this concept we can use for calculating. Now the question is whether we can use irregular field by also like this. So the approach is we can convert irregular field in multiple rectangular field, and then we can use this approach for calculating the equivalent square of the irregular field. However, different approaches has been recommended for different dosimetry parameters. For example, if I take collimator scatter factor, 3 approaches has been proposed. One first approach is equivalent square of jar settings, which is the most practiced approach, very simple to be implemented. Then points eye view model of collimating jars. The collimating jars means jar collimator only. There is no these collimators, secondary or tertiary collimators are not taken into account. And PV model of all the collimators, whether it is a secondary collimator system or tertiary collimator system. But these models are somewhat complicated. They are not very frequently used in clinical practice. And this equivalent square settings of the jaws are the main practical approach for calculating the equivalent square for collimator scatter factor, because as I told you, collimator scatter factor is linked with the photon fluence generated by the accelerators, and it also depends on the settings of the collimating jaws. So this approach can simply be applied for calculation. Now just take one example. Nowadays we are having accelerators which has the collimating jaws, then secondary multi-leaf collimator, even tertiary multi-leaf collimator. So say for example, if a secondary multi-leaf, one of the jaws of the in recent day accelerators, one of the secondary jaw is replaced by multi-leaf. For example, in case of Siemens and Electra accelerators. So we can treat them still as a jaw collimators. And if I assume as a first approximation that distance of these two jaws from the source of the radiation is not very significantly different, then one can apply the Stirling approximation for calculating the equivalent square by this formula. This is 4 into area by perimeter only. So this way, but if we are dealing with tertiary collimator systems, they are which is the case of variant accelerators, they are thought to be nothing but these shielding blocks. So they can be treated in a manner that, and they are not directly affecting the magnitude of collimator scatter factors. So their impact is almost negligible as far as the magnitude of collimator scatter factor is concerned. Now one more parameter which is called collimator exchange effect is not taken care by the Stirling approximation, but the good news is that Now majority of the accelerators are coming with a inbuilt shield for the monitor chamber, because collimator exchange effect was arising because of the backscatter radiation generated by the nearest jaw of the secondary collimator system. So monitor chambers are nowadays shielded, and because of that the magnitude of collimator exchange effect has been minimized. So in case of phantom scatter factor, as I discussed earlier, the field size for phantom scatter factor is proportional to that field which is incident on the patient or phantom, and it may be a smaller or than the collimator field size if the a scatter volume is reduced by tertiary blocking, or it could be larger in the case of extended SSD. So depending on situation, it can be a smaller or larger than the collimator settings. Unlike collimator scatter factor, the argument of field size of phantom scatter factor will change with a change of source to point of interest distance. In case of SSD setup of patient irradiation, field size projected at the surface is taken for phantom scatter rather than field size projected at depth of dose maximum. So all these are very obvious, and it should be kept in mind while looking for the numerical value of phantom scatter factor. Now take one simple example of a blocked field. See, this is we wanted to treat a patient by a field size of 16 centimeter, by a field size of 12 by 18 centimeter. It is a rectangular field, and there is a corner blocking. The projected dimension of the block at ISO center is 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter. So now I have to calculate the equivalent square for collimator settings. So now you can see that block is a tertiary system, and it does not affect the value of collimator scatter. So here we will not be considering the presence of block as far as the calculation of equivalent square for collimator scatter factor is concerned. So we will be simply using the Stirling approximation for rectangular field of 12 by 18 centimeter, and ultimately the value equivalent square is 14.4 centimeter by 14.4 centimeter. But in case of phantom scatter, this will play because this is the region which is not generating the scatter in the phantom. So this has to be removed from the calculation. So accordingly, when you find out the area of the remaining field, the area can be calculated either by converting it in to all the block as well. So finally, you will get the value of 14.1 centimeter. So what I mean to say, the phantom scatter factor depends on the field projected at the patient rather than the field opened by the collimator system. So now in case of just to take some example, we consider treatment as strategy. In this case is, this is just for example for illustration, is isocentric setup. We are going to use 6 MV X-rays, orthogonal combination of fields, maybe one epi field, another is lateral, left lateral field, for example. Collimator opened field size. So now say 2 fields. So we are considering only one field, whatever I have shown in the earlier picture. That is 12 centimeter by 18 centimeter. Treatment depth is 8 centimeter here, for example. Dose per fraction per field is 100 centigrade per field, and assume here that both the fields are having equal weighting. Projected block area at isocenter is 2 centimeter by 2, as we have seen in the earlier picture. So if I have to calculate tumor dose rate in this case, then this approach is very simple. Now collimator scatter factor will be looked for 14.4 field size, and phantom scatter for 14.1 same field size. Even tissue maximum ratio, which is related to the field size projected so this have to necessarily apply a tray transmission factor as a correction, attenuation correction. a correction, attenuation correction. So for this factor in the accelerator depends on the field depth as well as beam energy. So now the question is which depth we will be using. So depth of treatment will be the depth which will be used for looking for the value of Bayes factor in both the cases. So we can deal with the scenario of Bayes field treatment as well. Calculation, monitor unit can be calculated as has been discussed earlier. So the last discussion for photon beams is now extended SSD treatment. So say for example, we are dealing with the case of extended SSD treatment of 150 centimeter. So now here we require reference So if you have all these value, then it is easy to calculate tumor dose rate in a extended SSD setup, and then one can calculate monitor unit. The one example, one important things I wanted to tell you, there is a linear dependence of field size with respect to distance from the source. So if we know the collimator setting at ISO center, it is possible to calculate the field size projected at the patient surface by this expression, because in our dosimetry measurement we use a flat surface of the water phantom, homogeneous water medium. But
Hello.
Rajni, are you able to see my
Yes.
slides? No.
Not yet, sir. I can see your video, but not your slides.
Oh, okay, fine. So once again, I will.
Yeah. Now I can see the slides as well, sir.
Okay. So just there was okay. Thank you. Is it okay now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Perfectly
fine. So this is the different applicators of different vendors. One important thing I wanted to bring to your knowledge that the end of applicators or field size projected by the cones are not sufficient for treating the patient. Sometimes we need to put inserts as well. So we have to find out insert factor also while calculating monitor unit. Secondly, in case of electron, the treatment setups are only SSD. There is no scope of SAD setup, and regions are known to all of you. Now, for monitor unit calculation, the approach is once again, be focus on calculating the tumor dose rate. So here, this is the reference output as recommended by IATRS 398, for example. Then output factor of the cone, which is measured for each energy, and then this is a air gap of 5 centimeter, and this is SSD of 100 centimeter, and the applicator projected field size at the ISO SSD. So these are the parameters. Then percentage depth dose for the same setup, beam energy, then SSD of 100 centimeter, 5 centimeter air gap, treatment depth, whatever we wanted to deliver the dose G, and collimator opening. So if we use this expression, we will be able to find out tumor dose rate from a given energy of the electron beam and a given for a given collimator opening. So then we can calculate monitor unit if we know dose per fraction and the tumor dose rate calculated using this expression. So in case of electrons, it is very easy, but when we are using inserts, Then we have to find out output factor, which is the product of applicator output factor and insert output factor. So this is the expression we have to apply in monitor unit calculations. Then one more thing I just wanted to add, this a Stirling approximation is not applicable in case of electron beam. So here we usually use Ångström square root method. So the output factor, if I have to find out equivalent square for knowing the value of output factor, the output factor for XX and output factor for YY under root, and then similarly for percentage depth dose also this Ångström square root approach is used. So in case of output factor, it is necessary that photon collimator should have a constant opening. It should not be the case of varying opening, which is generally the case of treatment with electrons. Now, if I have to do calculation for the certain other distances or with other air gaps, usually we apply the concept of effective SSD considering time limit. Once again, I may not like to discuss it further because many of you might have seen this. So the purpose of bringing the whole topic was to sensitize the people to go through the literature and find out the different things. Then once again, corrections are required for surface irregularity and oblique incidence of the beam, as you might have seen in this. This is an example of treatment of this chest wall. So once again, I will not be able to discuss because I need to answer queries of all of you. But the expression is given here, and hopefully this video may be available at the FOAM website. You can go through as and when it is required. So tissue inhomogeneity, once again, we have to apply correction factor, and the correction factor is we have to calculate the effective depth of the tumor center in inhomogeneous situation. So the approach we follow is the CT approach. So this is the, and this is I have taken from the Dr. FM Khan's book. You can see that effective treatment depth G effective can be calculated by this approximation or this relation, and then one can calculate the monitor unit required for irradiating this type of patients. So finally, before closing, monitor unit calculation, simulating the clinical situation is an important aspect of the patient treatment strategy, and we should be very careful in finding out the parameters which is required for monitor unit calculation. If we are doing this calculation even as a quality control program, then it will help in enhancing the accuracy of treatment to the patient, as well as we will have a better confidence in delivering the dose to the patient, because we know that we have verified the treatment planning system calculated monitor unit for at least some situations. Now it is required to have a clear concept, but all these concepts are applicable with required accuracy only when the person who is going to use this is having a very clear concept about the dosimetry parameters, their functional dependence and their applicability, and then only these approach provided here as well as in other literatures are useful. For further reading, you can refer these literatures available. APM report 258, which talks about monitor unit calculations for photon and electron beam. APM report of 2011, which talks about the monitor unit calculation for treatment verification. ISTRO booklet number 3, which provides formalism for D10 based formalism, and ISTRO booklet number 6, which provides practical examples or data for implementation of the formalism prescribed in booklet number 3. And many things are available in many textbooks like the Physics of Radiation Therapy by FM Khan and IA book on radiation oncology physics published in 2005, and any other book. Even this John's book, recent version of John's book is also available, which contains many important information. So with this, I thank you all for listening to me, and wish you all should stay safe and healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. So thank you for your very informative and interesting talk. So if the audience have any questions, please leave them in the chat box so that I could deliver it to our presenter. So in the meantime, Dr. Sharma, I have a few questions myself.
Okay, please.
So, you know, nowadays we have a lot of QA solutions for RMRT and BMAT plans. Do you think MU calculation is still relevant? Do we need to incorporate it into a patient-specific QA procedure?
Yes, there are many. You might have seen some published papers. Whatever I have presented today, it is not a straightforward applicable in case of IMRT and VMAT. That's why I disclosed in the beginning itself that whatever is discussed here applicable to non-IMRT situations. But since you know, in case of IMRT, we are dealing with a small fields and a number of beamlets. So the monitor unit calculation for quality control purpose even is very cumbersome and hardly it is practiced.
Thank you. I think I have a question from an audience. So how to calculate TMR values if we don't have tabular data available with us?
Yes, we can find out if, by the way, we have the value of percentage depth dose with us. Definitely one can derive the value of TMR.
Thank you. And do we have another question from myself, if you don't mind?
Yeah,
so for complex field shapes, is there anything we need to keep in mind when calculating MU for you know, more complex field shapes?
Complex beam.
Yeah.
Okay, complex beam. I feel it is you are talking about irregular field or so like that. Okay, so here in some situations, say for example, usually we classify the field in two categories. If the degree of irregularity is very simple, then we can go by dividing the field in multiple rectangular fields or multiple square fields and then add together to get a equivalent square. But if the degree of irregularity is very high, it is better to switch over to Clarkson approach for determining the this equivalent square or even the dosimetry parameters required for calculating the dose to a point.
Right, I see. So just one last question before I hand over to Dr. Verma. So regarding the previous question about calculating the TMR values, the audience asked, what's the method or formula to perform that calculation?
This relation between percentage depth dose and TMR, it is a very well established relation we have. So it is linked with peak scatter factor, percentage depth dose, and TMR, and even peak scatter factor can be converted to a collimator scatter factor and phantom scatter factor also. So there is a well established formula available in all the textbooks. So one can convert the percentage depth dose value to TMR value.
Thank you. I think I have a personal question to you if you have time. Just one last question, I promise.
Yeah, please.
How can I join training in BARC?
Yes, it is a big question for me. So please write. I can give you email address of our colleagues, our authorities, and you can mark me a copy. And usually they take foreign students for training for certain duration, and this training is usually conducted in collaboration with Tata Memorial Hospital, because Tata Memorial Hospital and BRC is the part of Department of Atomic Energy. So we will definitely like to take you and maybe your colleague if you are interested.
I think Lam is not interested in study. I think she's asking for a question for someone like Rajesh Kumar in the chat box, I guess.
Okay,
but if
sure.
Lam, you are interested, we will be happy to have you in India.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think do we have time for one more question?
Yep.
Dr. Verma?
Yep. We can. Yes. Of course, we can go ahead.
Yeah. So there's another question. Can you explain how to measure collimator scatter factor?
Yes. Yeah. There are two approaches, as I discussed in the beginning. One approach is by use of a build-up cap. but you require to make a build-up cap for the given energy. Say, for example, if I am using measuring collimator scatter factor for 6 MV X-ray, I must have a build-up cap corresponding to 6 MV energy. That is, total build-up thickness shall not be less than about 1.5 centimeter. But this approach is thought to incorporate the contribution of contaminated radiation. So the refined approach is better to make use of a mini phantom having dimension, it is a cylindrical phantom having diameter of 4 centimeter and length about 20 centimeter. So if you position your ionization chamber either in perpendicular orientation or parallel orientation to the central axis, this measurement will be free from the contribution of contaminated radiation, and this is now measured and used for clinical situations.
I see. Thank you. Okay, I think time is almost up. I'll hand over to you, Dr. Verma. Thank you, Dr. Sharma.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So first of all, I want to thank Professor S.D. Sharma for such a wonderful session where the concept of monitor unit calculations were presented in such a simplified approach. You were always a wonderful teacher to us and always there to guide us. I hope we will be accompanied by you more frequently in benefit of all the medical physics community as such. And I also want to thank Lam for such an active moderation for this session. And I also hope that she will also get along with us more frequently. And thank you so much thank you so much to all participants as well to be with us. And I hope this session was beneficial for you. So now I have some information for you. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Okay, so it's an information that we have a form school webinar, which is scheduled on 18th of December. It is the radiation shielding requirements for radiotherapy facilities and shielding adequacy evaluation. And it is on 18th of December. We are hoping to see you all in this school. It will be very beneficial as it is an elaborated program for this specific topic. Now, as a form web manager, I want to invite you to AOCMP 2021, which you can join online. Now it is now all the registrations are open, and with best of my information, now it is online. So, and that too in a very reasonable rate. So you can always participate and get benefited to have those sessions in a very small amount of money. So I hope that will be that is okay for us, and we are happy to have all of you. And thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, Professor Rajesh Kumar. Yes, please.
Yeah, one question, ma'am. One question.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
please.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, why our Indian time or your time is different? Because always our seminar time is 3 p.m. but we are starting 12:30. Why this is the difference?
I need to explain you that there is some concept of called Indian Standard Time, and it is in GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. As this program is an international program and we are organizing this for many countries altogether, so we have to work with a global program.
Okay.
Of course, you have to convert GMT to our Indian standards, and then you have to attend the program. So I hope this would help you. If anything else is there, you can write me a separate email and I will answer all of the questions. So now I won't take much time of Professor S.D. Sharma, as he's a busy man. And thank you very much, everyone, and to be with us. And thank you so much, sir, once again. And hope to see you soon on 18th of December.